For some people, this year was about 5 months too long. For me, I think I somehow lost somewhere 2 months because I just started getting up to speed of telling you about the houses that I've discovered, what I've been sampling, showing you my very cherished finds in the perfume world of what I acquired from my own private collection, which is at this point very, very vast. And it's already over, and I haven't even caught up to what happened, in the summer when it comes to, my olfactory life. So yeah, here is a very semi thought through but sincere review of what were the best finds, the perfumes that were the most stellar, the outstanding, and the ones that I discovered in 2023, which very quickly turned out to be a tall order. If I don't close the door, my cat will steal the spotlight, and he needs his own channel, alright? This is mine. Let's start. As I said, this past year, I bought a lot of perfumes. I haven't shown you all. And one of the things that it's kind of like a disease that plagues everyone who is making content ever. You can't use it until you've shown it, and until you've shown that packaging, or at least talked about it some length. So I do have a dedicated storage for what I consider to be part of my library. There is some storage. Hold on, hold it. There is some extra storage for things that I don't think really belong, and I want to regift them. Maybe if people asking to split a bottle to send from decants, or resell it, and yada yada yada. And there is now a third type of storage, which is way less organized, pretty much takes a quarter of my bedroom, or my guest bedroom, is where all of the new perfumes are that I didn't have a chance to talk about. So this is pretty tragic. However, I decided to cut it where we stopped last time. So I show you some perfumes that I got. I've been wearing those that I showed you, and kind of summarizing what I feel about what was worth the money and what wasn't. This is the celebration type of video. Here I'm going to talk to you about the new perfumes that they might be not new to the market. Some of them are, some of them aren't, but they're new to me, and I feel okay, I did a good job there. And we're gonna start with morning. I'm gonna kind of go through them, just go through my morning routine, my day, and we'll probably talk about things that are most worn in the morning. Then we'll go through the day, and then I'll talk about special of various occasions. So, morning. When I really want a punchy morning, I go for contemporary aquatics. Contemporary mineral perfumes, you can also call them. So they always have salt in them, some kind of seaweedy, reclaimed wood aspects. They are much different from the aquatics of late 90s and early 2000s, such as Blue Dolce Gabbana, Davidoff Cool Water, and a lot of those kind of watermelony aquatics based on the cologne molecule. These new aquatics, and I guess new, this has been around forever in the millennium terms, but they are new to my collection. Serge Lutens Dans le bleu pétille, I hope I'm saying it right, was a blind buy because I fell in love with new formulation, with the new packaging of Serge Lutens waters. They can call them colognes. Waters is pretty much these lighter, very respectful of other people's space perfumes that you can refresh easily, and generally all the scents that I think probably fair to say non-gourmands. Essentially, they are not screaming at you, they are not too sweet, they are not too spicy, they are not too anything, but these definitely have a lot of character, especially this one. The liquid, I don't know if you can see it, is light blue. Not only I fell in love with this kind of seaweedy, almost incense. Incense here doesn't smell of church, but to me it smells of ice. The icy quality of this freezing alpine water just falling off in the middle of November off the cliff. It's just something special about these waters by Serge Lutens. I really love them. It was a really lucky blind buy. I have 2 of them and I use both of them pretty extensively. So this was a lucky blind buy. And Amouage Beach Hut, you see my version is marketed toward women. However, I am eyeing the one that's marketed toward men, and I think one of you has already left me a kind of a recommendation review of how to wear the Beach Hut for men. I might get it in the new year. I would really prefer to start with a decant because Beach Hut by Amouage, I first wore 5 ml as in a decant thanks to a friend of mine. And I went from, that's bizarre, to in love, especially for the morning, especially in the tropical and warm climates. I adore contemporary aquatics. This is absolutely my jam. And I dare say Amouage Beach Hut was the first to the scene, and after that there were everybody else, including Tom Ford Costa Azur, which I still want a bottle of it because it's a really, really snappy, very elegant bottle. But I do have Amouage Beach Hut, and it is, in my personal view, richer and a little bit more luxurious in its olfactory design. So super happy that I got it. It is discontinued. If you can still find it, go get it. If you are not sure, because it's a quite contemporary aquatics, I would say, is not for everyone. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I would highly recommend you start with a decant. And I will try to make an effort and put my bottle up for splits on my website. That means that I cannot give you more, guys, than 5, right? Because it's just one bottle. It's from my private collection. So I'll put a link down below. If the link is not there, or, you click on it and there's nothing there, it means that, what I could share is gone. And now I just have some left for personal use. So that's kind of a more punchier, I would say, like high fashion, stylish morning when I feel like it. When I just want to breathe. When I just want, oh gosh, it makes me think of, what is it, Day City? How is it called? Or Half Moon Bay in Silicon Valley. It's on the other side, on the ocean side of Silicon Valley, and they have these eucalyptus tree bushes, essentially, just like stretches of all eucalyptus trees, and there is so much fog that runs through them. And then when you walk there through the fog and you feel that eucalyptus smell, it's almost minty. It's very refreshing, very pure. This is the most kind of delicate and breathing morning scent for me. And the ones that kind of recreate that feel for me is Laboratorio, Olfattivo, Bergamoto. Arguably one of the most breathing, ingenious bergamot scents. Doesn't last at all, so I would say that this is a cologne/water. And this is a special collaboration between Laboratorio Olfattivo, which is Italian brand, and no other than Jean-Claude Ellena, who does make absolutely genius, historical, cult status citrus perfumes. He was the one who created nearly half of the line for Hermes, if not more. He is the one who created my absolute favorite citrus of all time, Bigger Atkinson Tree by Frederic Malle. This is yet another ingenious creation. Unfortunately hard to find in the States. It's more like a European kind of release/brand. I brought mine from Italy, so it's a very memorable bottle for me. I used up probably a quarter of it already within a year, and I just very generously spray it all over. Unfortunately, it doesn't last very long, but I love it. It's just like my lungs open up with Bergamoto. It's compliments to the chef. Something that lasts a little longer, but I would say is just breathy and is just has as much of the opening, this kind of very generous and light opening, is yet another water, Blind Buy by Serge Lutens, and this is Parole Dew. I hope I'm saying it right. Parole Dew is lemons, almost like lemon acid, plus pine trees. So to me, this is probably like September walk alongside of like Scandinavian, North Sea shoreline. Beautiful, breezy, fresh, again, citrusy but in a slightly different way. Like it's almost Bergamoto to me is almost minty, how heartfelt and foggy it is. This to me is more like a breeze. I feel the citruses, the lemons, I do feel the pines, and yet it still stays in a high frequency zone. Love them both. In the last year, I did heavily shift my preferences. They almost kind of like diverged from what I used to love, like all these in-between fragrances, wood plus lemons, or oud plus, I don't know, lily. Things that are kind of like, like a very delicate, interesting concoctions of different notes. Not my taste, but kind of like what I was drawn to almost diverged. Either super heavy, super distinct, almost not one note, but like a very primary central note perfumes, and something light, airy waters like. And with that trend, I bought like a battery, like a huge supply, I don't know what for, of these light, lotusy, watery florals or aquatics or this kind of perfumes. Another excellent example that I wore the most out of many that I bought and many that I have, and the one that looks just spectacular. It's one of the most beautiful bottles that I have in my collection, yet it is a designer perfume. And this is Kenzo, a well-forgotten, what used to be favorite of watery, light, flowy, high-frequency, fresh perfumes. They have a whole variety of them, but people kind of forgot about that Kenzo was kind of there first, and Olivier Cresp with Le Par Kenzo, to say the least. And actually Olivier Cresp did make like Blue Bal Dolce Gabbana, like he's the master of coming up with concise and yet punchy type of blends, olfactory blends. Anyway, this one I find is just mesmerizingly beautiful. It is called, it's quite a name, Lemon Beau. I'll try to leave the names and the links down below if you want to try it. It was the most worn out of everything that I had and worn, and since it's new to my collection, I decided to feature it. This is greener than everything else that we talked about so far. So to me, this is more kind of like green juice, green dew falling off leaves in the morning. Very lotusy, very water lily-like. I love it. It's fresh, it's bright, it's shimmering. Really good stuff, and it looks kind of cool. I have migrated from rich, spicy, almost zombie type of lilies toward lighter and more flirtatious lily scents. Lily is one of my favorite florals, and I find it to be a little bit less done kind of a floral. So when I wear a lily scent, I feel like I'm pretty special. Not many people have the same profile on them, so it's very recognizable. Again, if you're curious, I can make a whole video about unique signature florals that you can make your own and stand out from the crowd, because I find the usual jasmines and roses kind of make everyone smell a little bit the same, even though rose and jasmine have thousands of facets. But I do find that I'm personally drawn more to the outskirts, to like less obvious choices and a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more sophisticated florals. Not to say that rose and jasmine cannot be formulated in a sophisticated fashion, but you know what I mean. Like, I'm not really a mainstream person. The lily that stole my heart, and I had a decant of it, fell in love with it, tried to fall out of love with it and couldn't, and finally caved in and bought myself a bottle, is Dusita Fleur de Lalita. Is such a flirtatious, bright, a little silly. This scent is almost a little silly because it's not trying to be too realistic, and yet it's just unapologetically flirty. It's such a bright, well-balanced, semi-sweet lily scent. I love it. And a lot of people love it on me when I wear it. And just like as an honorary mention, because I wore it more, but it's not new. This is My Fair Lily by Atkinson. That's probably all last year. That's a lot, because this is like 100 ml, if not 120. This, what I would call, is truly a lily floral. This is way more believable, but you take away thickness, oiliness, or predatory animalic or spicy nature of lilies, and you just leave the very, very top notes of a lily scent. This is it. I was bathing in it. I think early spring and late spring. I love it. And I bought it blindly, and I wasn't that impressed because at the time I was way more into richer, deeper, complex, more aggressive lily scents. But when I started exploring kind of cleaner, greener, more pure scents, this was just the right fit. And I just want to again give a shout out to Laboratorio Olfattivo. Last year was the year of Laboratorio Olfattivo in my life. From my very eager but somewhat disappointing experience in their namesake boutique in Turin, where they kind of ignored me all the way through. And anyway, it was not the most cozy experience. It was alright. It was just kind of cold. But then I kept running into different examples of perfumes from that brand, and I got myself Mandarino, I got myself Bergamoto, and then I got myself a few of their white line, which again, a lot of people don't really talk about their white line because these are just fruity, light florals, nothing special. I find that their limited editions like these, including Flora that came to my life as a gratis gift from a boutique where I was doing a presentation, I just love their limited editions. I think their Jean-Claude Elena did them good by collaborating with him on those. It's just exquisite nature portraits there. And their white line are my favorites. Not the black line, the white line. And I already bought three bottles from their white line, like just like this. And I feel like it's almost something I just grab to because they're charming. They're all souffle-like. This one is MyLo. I have 2 bottles of three. And I keep wanting more and more and more, specifically from that line, because they're just what designer perfume market used to be in early 2000s, when there were these semi-sweet florals. Everything, the sweetness was not super syrupy. It was like Burberry in the old days, Burberry body. Oh, what else comes to mind? I'm trying to remember. Those romantic yet light, semi-fruity, semi-floral. There was just like such a youthful and flirtatious balance of all of the notes in the old school designer fragrances, and that's what the white line by Laboratorio Olfattivo managed to preserve in my view. It doesn't really list any of the fruits. It's actually white lilies, roses, iris, and all kinds of white florals, but to me it kind of reminds me of something in between. Lychee and rose sometimes smells fruity to me. It's just so charming. I love them. When it comes to cuddly, soft scents, I have a very good collection, and you can find different samplers on my website. I'll leave a link down below. I didn't really feel like I needed anything new because pretty much my needs were met by Tardes 7 out of 10 times. And I have La Mira Perla Bella Perla. I have my needs met when it comes to cuddly, soft, these kind of a little powdery but demure perfumes. Still a huge favorite. I need to find a backup for it because I'm getting a little concerned about the usage here. Again, consider this girl has got 400 plus bottles. I think now probably fair to say 500 plus, but I haven't done a mega inventory. I think I'm gonna do that in the spring and then get into therapy. But for now, willful ignorance. I have many bottles, and yet Tardes, when it comes to these soft, almondy souffle, just with a little sprinkled with sugar powder. It's just so. And again, every time I put it, it has a lot of trail, but it's not very bright. It's not screams at people. It's just this kind of floating charmer, just like almost this invisible ethereal trail. People love it. I love it. I use it all the time. Yet there was a perfume that's similar to Tardes, but a little deeper, a little bit more punchier, that I wore a lot in the last year, and that was new to me. Heliotrope by Etro. It is much denser, deeper, powdery perfume, and almonds here are more condensed, more concentrated. So I would call this a powdery almond gourmand, confidently so. And I find that the Etro perfumes are making a comeback. I can't wait for them to put their heads together and come up with a very punchy, very beautiful, very Etro type of probably not flankers, like a new original, because they've got a lot of interesting options already. They're not very well known, so I find that with the Heliotrope being almost an iconoclast, sweet, almondy, powdery gourmand, Etro has a lot to show us in the future. I just hope they'll use this opportunity. As I said, for me to pick something as a annual favorite that's new in my collection is a very high bar. One of the things that I decided to do a couple of years ago and been holding on to as strictly as I could, successfully so. I'm trying to buy less, not so successful. But when it comes to an exploding world of what I call Instagram niche, or these out of the blue appearing hyper luxury perfume brands, or as I think has already been discussed by a few bloggers, this skyrocketing of prices for existing boutique lines of designer or niche perfumes, I've held very firm. I do not buy a full bottle of anything until I worn off at least 5 milliliter decant. That's a very strict rule. There are certain exceptions to the fact, but those blind purchases always have at least 2, 3, 5 reasons, and we can talk about my philosophy of purchasing maybe like in a different video. If you're curious, I can tell you about my philosophy and what my plans are for 2024. Including what I predict will happen with economy and perfume industry in particular. Leave a comment below. If there are, I don't know, 20 comments like that, I'll make a video. Anyway, when it comes to really expensive perfume bottles or new perfume bottles, unless there are certain criteria met or I worn off at least 5 mil less, I just don't really learn anything. The only things I can learn from a small decant, like 1 mil or 2 mil, is if I don't like it at all. But if it's okay, then for me it's quite a long road to arrive at a purchasing decision. I need those decants. I need 5 mil at least. And then, I often look in the secondary market for maybe a slightly used bottle or a special deal. I see if the brand sells any kind of travel options that I could try what I want and maybe a few other things. So I try to be as pragmatic as possible, especially in the situation like mine. If any of you are collectors, you know that it's at some point it's irresponsible to just grab everything that is on the 30% sale, even if it is a deep sale. And I am very bullish on not trying new perfume brands just for the sake of trying something new. I don't know, it's a subjective preference. I just don't care. And I've seen that happen in so many industries, in the beauty industry, in the nail polish industry, makeup industry, skincare industry, that as soon as something becomes popular, and I think the perfume world is experiencing is renaissance right now through the social media and the bloggers just like me and you, people who talk about it, who wear it, who popularize sampling and learning about olfactory design, that now it's almost like a cash grab for all. I'm not gonna name any names, but you can easily think of probably half brands that are floating around that you see in all of those staged, a hand with a bottle bloggers who got a PR. And it's just a cash grab. There is no history, there is no intent, there is no thought. It's these brands appear, disappear. Some of them are, and they're just trying to find a price point that will make somebody pay. A lot of them are targeting Gen Z, like, and they are issuing all of these just body sprays essentially. And I just don't vibe with that. I don't need to waste my life, that's how I see it, on trying every single thing just because it is on the market. And I don't care if the perfume costs $600 or $2,000. If I don't care. If it's not in my budget, I'm not gonna buy it. I can study it, I can talk about it if this is a content request, with supplied samples either from the brand or from my subscribers. Sometimes my subscribers send me very expensive perfumes because they do want to hear me talk about them and share my opinion, give kind of rundown of comparisons. That can happen, but I'm not buying one of those new $300 per bottle type of brands just because they're there and just because they do these massive PR mailing lists to the top influencers. I just don't care, never cared about it, don't care, don't feel any FOMO over it whatsoever. This is why we're close to the end, but I still have a few really nice kind of special occasion evening options to show you. I'm well stocked when it comes to rich, dense evening type of perfumes, spices, different gourmands. I got an exquisite collection. Check out my channel. I have a lot of recommendations for you, including the decants that you can find on my olfactory shelves online. But I happened to get from a subscriber a decant of Hollyrose by Room 1015. And then another subscriber sent me a decant of the same perfume. And they were all like, do you like it or do you not? And each of them was 8 mil. I think it was from Scentbird, because I think they still stock it. And I was kind of like, yeah, I see what you're saying. It's a confusing rose. It's kind of somewhat smothering, dusty patchouli rose, but it's not green enough, and it's not chocolatey enough, and it's not spicy enough. It just has this some kind of like heavy feel, like a room that really needs its windows open. And at the same time, that's what makes it somewhat narcotic to me. I've done with 8 mil, the first one. I'm almost done with the second one. I just can't find it anywhere. And I am craving a bottle. So my job right now is to do a very thorough comparisons just to ease my mind to either purchase a bottle of Hollyrose by Room 1015 or convince myself that I have things that are just as good, if not better. And one of the options that I was obsessed with last year, and you can still find online, depends where you look, is a special, I don't want to say limited edition because some of them are still available. It's Malaki line by Chopard. You can't find it easily in any department store. You'll have to chase it online, but I think Chopard website does have them, and so do I. So you can get a decant from me. Again, as I said, my olfactory shelves, it's not a commercial store. It's actually the bottles that you see here. So at most, I will sell 5 to 10, depending on the size of the bottle, and that will be it. It will be gone. It will not come back. Chopard Rose Malaki is a cool play on a gourmand, somewhat jammy rose with leather. And this just does something to me. It's not your typical rose oud, which we have thousands of. It is jammy rose with leather, and it's kind of like rocking my world. Every winter I go for it, and I think now it's a very honorable use. So I'm trying to convince myself that kind of heavy, smothering, I would even say It's a little like marijuana oil type of rose, Hollyrose, I mean, by room 1015. Like there's something, this like green ombre there. It's where sometimes what you get in smoke shops. I'm still kind of digging it. It's not your typical rose perfume, but we'll see. We'll see. I just wanted to give it a shout out, but I haven't got a bottle, but I nearly used up 15 ml of it. Next one, I got my hands on finally on the almost, I think I got almost all of the collection of Rouge Bagno Rouge, hunted it down in Europe, acquired it, collected it through friends and family, and brought it back to the United States. Again, I only have one bottle of each. So if you want to try their black line, which in my view is the best perfumes that they have, and they're quite up there in quality, I would put them on the same shelf as L'Artisan Parfumeur. They are really, really cool stuff. They're really interesting niche perfumes. And the one that I wore probably the most was Silhouette. This is kind of what I imagine Clean Suede by Tat Libre d'Orange smells, but that one is supposed to be creamy suede. This is more kind of like calm, melancholic leather / suede. It has this dry, woody, almost molecular woody accord that just kind of like almost crackling and very, very dry, like dry pages of a book. And yet it's not bitter, it's not sour, it's just very even, contemplative and melancholic. Silhouette by Rouge Bagno Rouge. Wore a lot, so happy that I managed to get myself these. I think they're all discontinued. I think, yeah, I checked on the website, nowhere to be found. But now on my shelves, and you can get a few if you want. And another, just honorable mention, something that I've had for a while and I'm struggling to find a full-size bottle of, I think it's discontinued, is L'Artisan Parfumeur's yet another leather Monde Numero 10. Still have it in the old packaging with gold lids. This is to me a thin, very fine leather gloves with a little bit of like honey sprinkled on them. It's just such an elegant leather scent. These two are exquisite and yet different enough. This to me is a little bit more of a hard luxury because it's a little bit sweeter. It just has a little bit of this longing in it. Love it too. But I've had that for a while. It's just like I failed to acquire a backup. This 30 ml are not gonna survive very long. Another discovery as a brand and a find as an accord is that I started wearing incense. I have a lot of respect for people who just casually throw in Vatican on their hair and just go out the door. And I was like, okay, that's never gonna be me. This is just too, I don't want to say cliche, but it's too specific. And yet, in 2023, I used up a lot of decants, I used up a lot of kind of samples of fragrances with incense as a prominent note. And the very notable new perfume in my collection is Sancti by La Ligue d'Imaginaires, Imaginary Liquids. It's a French niche brand, very conceptual, very cool. I wish them luck because I want them to stay on the market no matter what happens. The Sancti is a very clean, well-balanced incense. It's not too high in frequency like Cardinal by Healy, but it's also not too deep or too dense as a song by Medita Rosa or some like heavier, sweeter incense fragrances. Incense fragrances have incredible life if you go to dry climate, like desert-like climates. Be it hot or cold, especially hot, incense just start doing something magical in the very dry, almost dusty air. When I went to Armenia, and this is exactly the kind of climate that is there, it blossomed. It was mesmerizing. I was swimming in all kinds of incense, fragrances, and I couldn't have enough. So happy. I used up probably, yeah, 5 ml, I think it's fair to say, of Sancti, a really good, well balanced, kind of high to medium frequency incense. It's not too gourmand, it's not too heavy, it's not too Vatican, it's more like Catholic church type of an incense. Highly recommend if you're looking to expand your horizons. Try it. Just try it in a hot, dry climate. You'll fall in love with it. And an honorary mention, a more deeper, more homey, kind of like evening by a fireplace incense is Budafamero by Carner, Barcelona. I love their wood lids. I love their packaging. It's just such a cool brand that makes interesting yet easily wearable perfumes. I often recommend their perfumes to people who are novices to niche perfumer but looking for a way in. Carner Barcelona, in my view, is a very nice way in. It's not as difficult or conceptual as Serge Lutens can be. So yeah, Botafomeiro, love it. To me, it's woody, it's a little bit warmer, but it's also very incensey. And the last two that we're going to talk about today is I was looking for some form of an alternative because I can't find a full-size bottle of Irreverent by Histoire de Parfums. This is my favorite demonic scent every time I play goth or I go to a rock concert or anything where I feel like dark and demonic. Irreverent is it. I freaking love it. Sometimes Dark Rebel by Jean Varvatos kind of does it, but this is way darker. This is seventh, like six, okay, maybe not, maybe six level of hell. Love it, but I only have a travel, can't find a full-size bottle so far for a reasonable price. So the one that I've been using alternatively and that's new to me is Beurre de Vent by Imaginaires Liquids, La Liquide d'Imaginaire, and this is like French kissing a demon. Oh, this is such a dark cardamom leather. It's just smoky, but it's not rough, it's not tough, it's very well rounded, it's enveloping, it's almost myrrh-like, but it's so heavy, it's so dark, it's so deep. Oh my god, Beurre de Vent, it's just like another dimension. It's, wow, sleeping with the enemy, I'll call it. It's so good. It's not for everyone. I think a lot of men kind of gravitate toward it, but I dare say for a femme de fatale, it's a must-have. Alright, yeah, that's the year in review. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would like to hear what were the finds that you loved the most, things that you discovered in 2023, fell in love with them, wore them, to pieces, and still love them. Please let me know. These are mine with a few honorary mentions. As I said, I am working really hard in loving and enjoying and indulging in olfactory design and scents that I have. And it's quite a high bar for me to bring something into my collection and then talk about it as like the best of the year. Next, we have options. We can talk about disappointments of the year. Those were plentiful. We can talk about just generally most worn fragrances of the year, so I will not limit myself to what I discovered and bought in 2023, but just kind of survey the collection. And we can talk about many things. So you let me know what really grabs your attention, what kind of topic gives you the most intrigue. I'll be waiting for your comments, guys. Merry Christmas, Merry Holidays, Happy New Year for those of you who mostly focus on that. I just wish you really good winter holidays. Enjoy your time. Let's push that reset button. Let's let go of any regrets, any losses, any unrealized dreams, because we're still alive. We're still here. We can do it, and we will.